Good afternoon, colleagues, our facilitators. Good afternoon, participants. Welcome to our scientific writing training, which will be facilitated by Professor Nampala from Bugema University and Professor Tenywa from Makerere University. They will be taking us for this training for the next 5 days up to Friday. So I invite all participants to listen and learn so that you can be good scientific writers, such that when you write your paper, it doesn't face rejections. They'll give you tips and advice on how to write your papers as early career scientists. And I know this training will be beneficial to many of you. So I welcome all of you to this training. And this is one of our regular trainings which we offer to our Ruforum network. So let me allow my colleague to also introduce themselves who are here, who are not facilitators. Colleagues from Ruforum Secretariats, please introduce yourselves to the participants before we start.
Good afternoon, participants. David Martin Amitu. I'm also part of the team supporting the training. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, participants. My name is Arturo Ignacio Fernando. Also, I'm part of the team to support this training. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Colleagues, as been advised from Professor Nampala that if the introductions for the participants, you introduce yourselves in the chat, we'll be able to know where you are taking this training from. So, and then there are colleagues who are interested in having the WhatsApp groups. You can actually create a WhatsApp group so that you can have a community of practice in scientific writing. So we allow you to just post to this webinar chat. If you would like to have a WhatsApp group, it is not true forum to create this WhatsApp group. Should you have any questions or particular comments, please put them on Q&A so that our facilitators can easily pick them. Do not put your questions in the chat because there will be a lot of traffic on the chat, so it is difficult for our facilitators to follow up your questions or comments. So at this very moment, let me allow our colleagues, Professor Nampala and Professor Tenywa, to take over. Over to you, Professor Nampala and Professor Tenywa.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nyararo. So we don't have Yeah, we are trying to mute the second computer so we don't get an echo.
Okay,
yes, thank you very much.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. We are just trying to mute so we don't get the echo with us. I think that is better. Yeah, you are very welcome to this session. Yes, it is called a training, but we would like to think that this is a learning session. It's a session for sharing experiences. I see many colleagues on call that have interacted with before. And I know each one of us has been able to either read a paper, a journal article, a scientific publication, and so this should be familiar ground. And we hope to be learning from each other. We would like to start day one with basics in scholarly publishing. And as we go along, if you at any point think that probably the things that we are sharing are obvious, please do consider that this is a mixture of many people. And as the workshop is called, it is early careers. And so there are probably people that don't know what we're talking about. And so feel free to be in a mood of revising, and also feel free to make contribution as appropriate. Thank you, and I take it that from Reforum, our conveners, the opening remarks are done. In case there is anything else that you would like to say, we had actually provided for an opening session, but we would like to ask participants to do the introductions in the chat room, because you can imagine over 300, now 346 participants. If we start introducing ourselves, we'll take the whole afternoon. And so feel free to share and introduce yourself in the chat room. But also in the chat room, we put a link, Google Docs link, and we would like to ask you to respond to that questionnaire. It's a simple tool in Google Docs, and that questionnaire is going to help us to tailor the message of the things that we are going to talk about. Because as you'll realize, there is a lot about scientific writing and publishing. And if we ask each one of you, you will give us 1 or 2 messages that you know about scientific publishing. And so we don't want to be redundant. We want to be spot on. And we can only be spot on if you give us responses, and we will be able to analyze and look at this questionnaire and responses, and then we will tailor the message to the things that you would want to hear or to learn from. So we will keep sharing the link such that those that are joining are in good stead to be able to respond. We actually thought that we need to create some minutes, maybe 15 or 20 or 10 minutes, to allow members to open up the link and fill in the questions. I think it's only appropriate. 10 may be too much, but we can create 5 minutes, a moment of 5 minutes of focus, because this is important. I know sometimes we attend meetings and we are not keen to follow through things, and so we miss the message. So please, let's take 5 minutes. I'm sharing the link again and again. So let's take 5 minutes. Let me just capture it here. It's 9 minutes after 2. So we resume to the next slide. 15, 2:15. So please go ahead. Populate the message, the link. Yes, for those that have just come, we're taking a few minutes to respond to the survey. And we'll be up on the game at 2:15. So we still have 4 minutes to populate the survey. Link is not opening. Can you pick it and paste it in your browser? Is it the same for everyone? No, it's not just for students. It's for participants. As long as you're participating in this undertaking, you're welcome. Yes, and if you already submitted, then that is fine. Thank you. Thanks, Wilbrod. Link opens well. Thank you for confirming. Good. Let me just keep posting it. I see there are members who are just joining, so let me keep posting it so you can. And please accept our apologies. This is something that we should have done much earlier, probably a week ago, such that you're able to populate it. Okay, we have 3 minutes to go. Yes, 2 minutes to go. Yes, some of us saw it earlier, so that is fine. So in case you already filled it, that's okay. Yeah, it is the same. It is the same. No change, but we just want to give opportunity to all colleagues to share responses. As I said, as facilitators, we don't want to be redundant, speaking about things that are not helping you. We would like to be spot on and address focus areas in publishing. Yes, if you've already submitted, that's okay. No problem. We have 1 more minute. Charles To from Ghana. Yes, this is the beauty of technology. We're in Kampala and we can connect to Accra. Okay, I think, yes, I think it is a 2:15, and we did promise that we shall close this up at 1:15. So welcome again. Please, if you've not yet introduced yourself in the chat room, feel free. And also feel free to respond to the survey for the reasons that I already stated. Now, we are your facilitators. My name is Paul Nampala. I am an editor, science editor of the African Crop Science Journal. I am associate editor to Professor J.S. Tenywa. You will hear his voice in a few. As you know, working with journals is a voluntary undertaking, and we have other engagements that we are involved with. And for myself, I'm the Dean of Agriculture and Applied Sciences at Bugema University. And I'm happy to be with you for this session. And I look forward to learning more from you from this interaction and sharing with one another. These days when we introduce ourselves, especially to the caliber of students like you, I realize that they can actually find out more about you from the cyberspace. So feel free to read more about the person of Paul Nampala from the media that you may have, from Google Scholar, from ResearchGate. It will also be helping me to increase my readership of the articles that I've published. Thank you. Yes, Professor. They will hear you. Let's go ahead. Yes.
Yes, this is John Stephen Tenywa. I am the editor-in-chief of African Crop Science Journal and a retired professor from Makerere University. Much lately, I think I've interacted with many of you who have submitted papers to the journal, and I think you benefited a lot from the experience. So now you can put the name on the face of the person. Paul and myself have moved under a forum, especially across Africa, to different universities, different research institutions. So we actually have a background information about research and publishing in Africa. And we would like to share with you all this, but we can't do it in 5 days, but we'll do the best we can. Yeah, so you are most welcome to Kampala from wherever you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm with my boss, the editor-in-chief of the African Crop Science Journal. I also would like to say that we are associated with so many other journals where we are section editors or peer reviewers and so on and so forth. And so it is this wealth of experience that we would like to bring to you so we can share together. The African Crop Science Journal is very current. We already have our 33rd volume, issue number 2. We publish on a quarterly basis. So issue number 2 means June 2025. And it's already there. And we're already processing the September issue. Yeah. So friends, our approach is going to be a hands-on approach. Of course, with the challenge of being virtual, we have to be very, very innovative. We believe that as participants, you came to this learning session willingly. And so we hope that as we share a number of resource materials and assignments, you will be able to attend to them such that we ensure that we catch up with the volume of work that we have for the next couple of days, and that we get value for the time. And at the end of the engagement, we will all say, this was a useful use of our time. We will be, in addition to providing tips in scholarly publishing, we will conduct this session as a step-by-step process, and we will be providing guidance in the process of how to get published. And some of these aspects are already published in journal articles. So we'll be sharing these journal articles, and yours will be the job of reading. And as we come, we are able to raise questions, share points of clarification, and engage with one another meaningfully. And so that will be our approach. Even amidst being virtual, our promise is that we will try to the extent possible to be hands-on. Our wish ultimately is that as we go step by step in the development of journal articles, scholarly manuscripts, we shall be able to put together our data and have draft manuscripts. And as you'll get to know along the way, when something is not yet published, it is called a manuscript. So the draft of an article is called a manuscript. It's only called an article if it is published in journals. So we hope that by the end of this session, you will develop manuscripts that you will be able to draft, share with your supervisors, and eventually submit, and that will be the impact. So we're calling day one, session one, and in this session, we have mapped out a few messages. First, we would like to explore the purpose of academic writing. And we do not take anything for granted. But as you know, there are rules of the game since 1807, when the first journal was created, the Philosophical Transactions of the UK is journal number 1. And since that time, there has been a lot of evolution of what we would call scholarship. And scholarship is about getting published. Scholarship is about producing knowledge. But there are so many questions that we will be answering, not just in this session, but throughout the 4 or 5 days now that we have. We will be answering the question of what, how, when, where, by whom, and you can add to the list as you wish. So we would like to explore this academic writing or scientific writing or scholarly writing, and get to learn more about the principles and ethics, and what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. And some of these things we may not present them on the slides, but we're going to give you a lot of reading materials that you will be able to dig for yourselves and get to know how. We will also have a key presentation, which is on key issues for consideration in scientific writing. What is it that I must do in order to ensure that my manuscript is accepted? And what are those things that we do that either delay acceptance of manuscripts or lead to that which is training? Of course, we have to refer to it, and that is rejection. We shall highlight the article formats, types in scientific writing or publications. And that will close the day. I should have indicated here that there will also be assignments to the participants. But first, let us start with this drive. Why should we bother publishing? And I'm sure if we asked and we had much time, each one of us would be giving us a lot of answers. And in the Q&A section, feel free to, because it's Q&A, it's not only questions. So feel free to type something. If you think it's not on the slide, feel free to type it and give an answer that you probably know. Why do we publish? And maybe we need also to ask ourselves, what's a publication? You know, the English language is very interesting. And the construction of English language is that you have 2 words and join those 2 words to make 1 word. So the English people talk about opening, and then they talk about unity. Then that becomes an opportunity. Opportunity. They talk about common and unity, and that becomes a community. Community. And so they are talking about something that you have done for the public, and then you put it in public locations. So public plus locations gives you publication. And that's how English language evolved. All words that are more than 3 letters are joined words. And you can look for more. They are joined to form one word that makes sense. So if that thing that you have done is not put in the public, then it's not a publication. This is why you see that we struggle to get theses put into journal articles. Because in many universities, a thesis is in the department. It's only the department that knows that so-and-so graduated and the thesis was on this subject. But now you need to distill information from this thesis and then put it into a public location. But the other thing also, now that we're talking about theses, and we shall get to this, day 2, day 3, a thesis may not necessarily carry news. And these things in public locations are news that you're communicating to the public. That is why there are so many people that graduate, but not all that graduate at master's or at PhD will end up with a publication from their thesis. Because while you may satisfy the departmental rigor and the faculty rigor and the school, and they recommend you for graduation, you may not satisfy the peer review rigor that is required in scientific literature as a contribution to knowledge. Because the contribution to knowledge must be news. If it's not news, then we know where to find it. So we are not going to talk about rhizobia and slicing the nodules and that the nodules are pink or purple. That's already textbook knowledge, is known. But for purposes of your thesis, then you can talk about how you sliced them, how you exercised them, how you put them on agar media, and so on and so forth. So I hope we appreciate that a publication is something worthy to be placed in public locations because it's news. And because it is placed in public locations, it has consumers. People will not just look at and just move on. But it is attractive that, Eureka, just like the Archimedes principle, that you have something to announce, something that is new. Now, the emphasis on publishing research is rooted in the role of academia being the engine of scholarly progress. That if we don't publish, then nobody will know what is happening. And as we say, new knowledge is built on old knowledge. If you look at the principles of gravity, if you look at the principles of social context, you have one scholar coming up with one theory, and then onto that theory, another is designed, and so on and so forth. So academia contributes to solving societal problem by improving one step at a time. And as I said, new knowledge is built on old knowledge. Even the Nobel Prize breakthroughs, they have novelty in them, but if you trace those novelties, you'll find them in principles and laws that were established long ago. That proteins are needed in the diet to deal with issues of kwashiorkor. That we know. But maybe what we don't know, is the time when to feed the babies. And so if we come up with a protocol that optimizes when to feed the babies, that will be a breakthrough. And that is the news that we need to publish, because mothers are constrained. They don't know whether they should go to work or attend to their babies. Now, if I came up with a breakthrough and I say, the most optimum utilization of proteins from breast milk is in the evening from 10 to midnight. Hey, then mothers will never be bothered. They will just go be working. And so they make sure they are available in the evening to feed their babies. And that can be a breakthrough that will drive the world crazy. So the breakthrough is in between the norms, that which is known. Now, if I came up with a breakthrough, I'm not going to put it in the dark. There are those interesting books that some of us read, and those books say that you can't light a candle and put it under your bed. You have to show the light. And so if you're showing the light, then this is what academia is all about, that when you have a breakthrough, you have to shout Eureka for the whole city to see. And that makes the progress that we're talking about. And this is very core to scholarly publishing. It's not just sharing information, but it's about advancing knowledge. And once you come up with a breakthrough and you don't share it, then you have done a disservice to society. Because then more resources have to be wasted to do the same thing. And when you're doing the same thing, you buried yours. And this normally happens, somebody in Japan publishes something about sprouting of potato, and then somebody in Africa says, hey, this thing we have been doing. But then you have been doing and you've not announced it. So the other publication takes the day. So we need to publish. I remember when the human genome was being unpacked, the Craig Venter Institute and many other people that were working on the human genome, there used to be competition to publish who has seen this first. And we will get to that, because that's what they call short communications, that you don't have to wait. If you've already discovered a protocol, then you can do a short communication and publish that protocol such that others can pick it on and use it in the laboratory. So scholarly publishing is about refining theory. It's about presenting the evidence base. And this evidence base finds itself in many channels that are useful. Scholarly publishing is also about knowledge production, generating the news, and giving insights that deepen understanding of the challenges in the world. We have so many challenges, and these challenges have solution up to a certain extent. But then these solutions can actually be improved and can be made better. And so you go on and on. Rather than put rubbish in a dustbin, maybe you can just put organic matter on the rubbish and the rubbish dissolves. And that becomes news. And so we will no longer have environmental challenges in the cities, and so on and so forth. So publishing ensures that the ideas are preserved, but they are critiqued and are built upon. Publishing is also a form of accountability and rigor. I'm sure many of you have received peer review comments. And sometimes at that point, if you're not resilient, you can give up and say, no, this one I can't manage. And many publications have not seen the light of day because of this rigor. So there is critical evaluation. And this critical evaluation is not intended to punish you, but it's intended to uphold the integrity, the quality, the validity, and ethical standards of science. Because if that doesn't happen, then anything would be passing out there. But science brushes on science, such that just like you're having iron ore, and then you're refining this iron ore to make steel that glitters. If you look at iron ore, just that has been excavated, it's very ugly and looks rough and what, but it passes through a furnace, I think 7,000 degrees Celsius. And it's this furnace that purifies it. So peer review is the furnace of science. and it separates informed speculation. So sometimes there is a lot of speculation. You know, people will say Lake Victoria is turning green. But when you walk to Lake Victoria, you actually see very clean water and clear water. Now, so where has it turned green? What is causing the problem? So in science, we have to substantiate the truth and maintain the integrity of academic discourse. So if a community comes to me and tells me all the fish in Lake Victoria is dying, then I don't just write that and publish it. I have to go and undertake a research with a clear methodology. And indeed, I will find that there is some fish that is alive. But human nature sometimes is such that we are very speculative, and speculative information travels faster than the truth. Somebody will say, everyone in Africa is dying. But when you come to Africa, you find a very huge population and thriving. So now, but somebody in New York said all people in Africa are dying. So you see, in science, we don't go by speculation. We leave that for another category of people. The politicians can say all the cattle in a given village are gone. We don't have any left. But as soon as you walk there, you actually see lots of cattle going for watering and whatever. So in science, integrity is our belt, and academic discourse has to maintain the truth, and the truth must be substantiated with evidence, qualitative or quantitative. It's important to publish because through publication, there is impact and relevance. And published research is not the end in itself, but once published, it influences policy, it transforms practice, it inspires innovation, and so on and so forth. That's why we have something we call evidence-based policy making. That before you prevent the use of DDT for malaria control, what is the problem with DDT? And so on. And you do analysis and have evidence, then now you put a ban on use of DDT. But whether it is testing crop varieties or animal breeds in a nation or rethinking education reform, it is research that bridges. It is research that connects the missing gap. So research bridges that which we know and either disapproves it or approves of it, and the actions that then arise will be tangible actions. Now, if we have not published, then the policy people don't have what to look at, and they will do what we call policy, then evidence follows. Policy evidence driven. But what we want is evidence-based policy, not policy, then evidence. If we don't publish, then we do a disservice to the training system and learning. Because through publication, we have good curricula that comes up, we have mentorship, we instill critical thinking, and we build the intellectual capacity. And we get an inheritance that passes on to generations. You can imagine if Watson and Crick never published DNA, the double helical strand. I mean, the world would be lost. But now the world uses DNA in so many ways that thieves have touched the dogs come and smell. All that is science. And because it was published, then we know what to do. And because it was published, intellectual inheritance thrives. And so many people have done molecular biology, molecular breeding, based on those principles of DNA and cytokinins. We publish for career advancement, and many times this is the first one that comes. So that's why we strategically put some of these bullets up such that you are able to see. that publishing is not just for career advancement, but it brings about institutional visibility as well. For individuals like you and me, publishing research is essential for professional development. It's actually the #1 criteria. You can have everything. You can be very good to students. You can teach. But you know, as professors, we normally say that professorship is not the number of years you've taught. Some people say, I've been here for 30 years. But you've been here for 30 years and you're using yellow notes. And you have no publication to your name. So publication is what gives you the academic ladder. And it's publications that will give you access to funding. You know, when you're applying for grants, you will not get a grant if you don't have recent publications, and they are asking for, and by recent, they mean 5 years, within a period of 5 years. We are in 2025, so the publications needed now are 2020, 2019. Yeah. And I'm sure these things you know. That's why we said the things we're talking about, we are only putting them in context for us to appreciate as we begin the journey. And then, of course, scholarly recognition. Now, for institutions, I'm sure we know this university ranking. Every time it comes, the leaders are on their tenterhooks. But it elevates reputation. It attracts partnerships. You know, these universities in Africa, #1 university. I studied in the University of London. And you know, University of London is #8 globally. And so we are proud. We always say, yeah, #8. I also studied in the University of Reading. University of Reading competes with the University of London, and so on and so forth. And this is no mean feat, but it attracts partnership. It fosters leadership in global conversations. You know, you can see how the innovations that are coming from Y College, the University of London, and so on and so forth. And as an alumni, I receive a lot of communication coming, and these communications are stepping. Everyone that writes from US, from what says, given your recent global ranking, we are looking for partnership on this and this. Yeah, and many times, sorry about that. As scholars, we are focusing on original research. But publications, from what we have seen, can be so diverse, and we can have very diverse formats. We can have reviews, we can have case studies, we can have opinion pieces, we can have data papers. And once these are embraced, then publishing becomes not only a rigorous exercise, but a creative and inclusive dialogue. Because there are some aspects that we do that cannot be boxed in the traditional materials and methods, results, discussion, conclusion. Yes, there recommendation. Not every paper is going to have a recommendation. Sometimes that is not the drive. And so we would like to highlight this slide, that there is something called article types, and that article types is different formats of articles in scholarly publishing. And probably you've already seen this, but probably when you were coming for this workshop, this training, you're looking at #1, original research articles. Because I've seen that most of us are actually students or doing masters, doing PhD. And even when we are not students and we are academia, I think our focus is largely on original research articles, that we do research, and from that research, we then publish. And sometimes this faces a snag because, as we said, original research can only be published if it is newsworthy. And if there is no news, then the paper will be rejected. Sometimes even the reviewers will send you 10 other manuscripts, that articles that have been published, and they will send you a paper of 1991, and they say, but this work was published. Now, in terms of your thesis, you actually graduated because you followed the protocol of thesis writing, you did analysis, because PhD master's training is about learning how to be a researcher. And when you learn to be a researcher, you go through the cycle of research, from problem identification, hypothesis setting, testing the hypothesis, gathering data, analyzing data, writing up, and yes, and so you have a thesis. But that thesis may not have news. And if it has no news, then you will not get a research article out of it. So a research article is considered primary research. That within the ecosystem of scholarly studies, we undertake experiments or surveys or field work, whatever the design of what you have. And this is often subjected to peer review and considered a primary source that will then serve as fuel for advancement of knowledge across disciplines in that particular discipline where you are. So that is the original research. And I'm sure this one we know. But maybe some others that are not so familiar, we have review articles. And these review articles are very complementary to primary research. They play a crucial role in synthesizing already existing literature. So we have systematic reviews and we have scoping reviews. Now, systematic reviews have a methodology, the PRISMA methodology of analysis of existing information, and that you come up with a research question, and that research question, you gather data, 2,000 papers published in a particular line of discipline or published with a particular publisher, scopus, and over the years, over centuries, you analyze this work and provide direction for future research in crop science, in plant breeding, in hydrology, in social systems, in extension, in dairy management, in beef production. It can be that specific. So you can gather papers on beef production for the last 100 years, and then you get the trends of how things are moving. Now, that would be a systematic review. A scoping review is more of what you have in your thesis, the literature synthesis. It doesn't do a thorough analysis that follows a prescription. We also have what we call technical or methodological articles. Now, these technical or methodological articles are a little different from the traditional introduction, materials and methods, results and discussion. These are more of papers that publish a methodology. So you have a methodology that you have studied, and they are very common in statistics or modeling or mathematical applications. So you have a methodology, and then you publish this methodology. We have case studies. So some of us use case study as a method of gathering data. And a case study can be published. And we have journals that call themselves African crop science case studies, something. Or so each of these can actually be a specialized journal. There are journals that only publish reviews. In the UK, there is the integrated pest management reviews. So it only publishes reviews. It doesn't publish original. We have journals that publish methodological articles. Then there is short communications. And sometimes there is confusion. Some people think that short communication is because the paper is one paper or 2 pages. No. A short communication is you are doing a study, and that study has milestones in it. And those milestones actually constitute a complete story. So for example, you're developing a variety, and to develop that variety, you need to develop some protocols. And the process of developing this protocol is done. And you are now moving on to the next step. So the protocol becomes a publication in itself, and the process that you did to develop that protocol. But the objective for which the research is being done is not yet complete. So yeah, so that becomes a short communication. And I think to clear the air, sometimes it's referred to as rapid communications. Communications that are useful, they have a complete story, and it has nothing to do with the number of pages or the number of words. It can be as big or even bigger than an original research, but then it has not answered the ultimate goal of the study. It is only one step in the process of reaching the ultimate goal. And then there is preprints. I'm sure many of us have heard about preprints. These are like complete drafts that have been developed and have been put out there in the public for review. But when they are put out there in the public for public review, they actually get a digital objective identifier. So they have a DOI, and they have even databases where they are placed, and they are citable because they are in the public. You know, we say the publication is that document that is put in public locations. So they've already been put in the public. But authors can retrieve these preprints after they have considered the public feedback, and they now write them and publish them in a journal. And the indexes where they have been put can also remain with them, but they remain with the draft paper while the journal publishes the revised paper. So a preprint is not a peer-reviewed publication, but it's a published document put out there to benefit from public review. We have opinion papers that are written to express an opinion. If you're talking about GMOs, there are so many things that are not yet known about new science. But as an expert in biotechnology, you can write a paper that informs practice, but that paper does not have a lot of evidence because it's futuristic. So that becomes an opinion. Personal perspectives, commentary articles, and their journals. For example, we have veterinary opinion. It just publishes opinions about veterinary science. We have Frontier has frontier perspectives. And then there is book reviews, that somebody has written a book. I read the book, I review, and write an article about the book. So that's a book review. Yeah. Editorials, that you have articles that are being published, but I read the articles and then I write an editorial. And it is sometimes called a letter to the editor. So letters to the editor. And they are standalone articles in themselves. And you can be promoted for they are journal papers. They are also packaged as journal papers. It's like a synthesis of the papers within a volume of a journal, Or, for example, the African Crop Science Journal has been around since 1993. I can pick all the issues that the African Crop Science Journal has written, and then I write a synthesis, and that will be an editorial. Clinical trials, now this is more with the clinicians, but then within the field of agriculture, we are talking about agricultural sciences and agriculture plus related. You know, I told you at the beginning that the English combine two words to make one. So agriculture plus related becomes agricultural. So within the agricultural, we have food science, we have nutrition, we have, and so you have biochemistry. And so when you're talking about metabolism, then clinical trials come into place because metabolism is about the living cells and how they are absorbing, or living organisms and how they are absorbing. If you're talking about nutrition in humans, then that's agricultural. If you're talking about food science and technology, that's agricultural. So within the clinics, you don't simply subject foods and winning foods to individuals. No, there are protocols that you have to follow. And so there are journals that publish this kind of work, and their methods will not necessarily follow the original research article. I mean, if you're preparing a ready-to-use therapeutic food, RIU, TF, then all you need is that the ingredients and what describe them and so on. So that becomes a clinical trial. We also have retrospective and cohort studies. Now, these are studies that are conducted over a period of time, that you're following up people that are smoking a particular variety of tobacco for the last 20 years. So some data comes, you were not even there. But so that's why they are called retrospective studies. So we have journals that publish retrospective work analyzed over time, population studies or that. Then data papers, these are publishing data. We have working papers. I'm sure you've seen this from the World Bank. At Ruforum, there is the Ruforum working documents. Those are working papers. Now, these are papers that are either from institutions, mostly, or from international organizations, UN, World Bank, that are focusing on policy issues. You can get the national budget of your country and develop a working paper from the national budget. So you will not follow the rigor because the national budget is a national budget. Every country has it. So you're not going to follow the rigor of synthesis and research that is in the research articles. We have protocol papers. These are papers that are publishing protocols. And the list is endless. I have always made a joke with my colleagues that it's not possible that we are not publishing because there is no research funds. Sometimes we are not publishing because we are actually lazy to publishing. Because some of the articles that need to be published, you don't need research funds. All you need is your computer and time. And look for the literature. We always make a joke that many times people that are calling themselves good writers, they are only singing it. So they say, I am a good writer. And they have the I will write syndrome. So they talk about I'll write, but they never actually write. And they will stay in the department for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 30 years. So they retire at assistant lecturer because, lecturer, because they are not published. Yeah? And then you see young people coming and passing them, and you start wondering why is so and so not being promoted. Then the story becomes, I have been here for 30 years, but I'm marginalized. No, the thing is, you are not following this profile. and you are not choosing whether you have an opinion to say, or you have a perspective on your discipline, and so on and so forth. I would like to close at this, and probably highlight that we're going to do, just as we said, that we will share a lot of documents. This is one example. The essence of transcendence of scientific publishing. The essence and transcendence of scientific publishing. A very good paper that talks about a lot of things, some of which I have said, and talks about the primary goals for publication. Now you will see that this is just an addition, dissemination of new results, propose novel theories. Now, this is what we know. But beyond what we know are the things that we've highlighted on the slide. And that publication is not just about promotion, it's about so many things. So we would like to interest you to look at this paper. We are going to share it today, immediately after the session, and it will be part of your homework that you look at it. This paper also talks about the gray to the dark side of scientific publishing, and so it introduces the aspects of ethics. It talks about scientific misconduct and bad practice in publishing, but it also gives examples of the benefit that arises from being published. And we are sure that once you have this, that gives you a complete package of what you need for this particular module. And we would like to transition to the next module for this afternoon. And before we transition, Professor Tenua is going to take us through the key issues in scientific writing. And as he does that, I will let him start it off. Probably if there is, we would also be happy to hear one or two voices from that side. So if there is a short question or a point of discussion, so let me let Professor Tenua take it up from here. He's going to make some substantiations, but also feel free to come back with any interventions, let me say interventions that you may have at this point as we transition to the next. So welcome with me, Professor Tenua.
Okay, can my picture show here?
Yeah.
Okay, colleagues, once again, I'm pleased to be before you. We would like to be as interactive as possible using the means that we have to us. Well, I just wanted to add, to highlight a few things from what Paul has said. When we say research news, what do we mean? What is news to you as far as science is concerned in your discipline? I'm sure there would be something that would be eyebrow raising to you and attract your attention so that you focus on it. First of all, understand it before you go to something else. That would be research news. I have a feeling that things like contradictory information from what is widely known, new protocols, that is ways of doing things, that would be news. In literature, even literature review, we want news. We don't want routine information because we know where to find it. So that your contribution to make a difference in literature and to link up missing ends, that's the news. So the more you contribute to the literature when reviewing the paper, the more you are adding news. Okay? And that's why, as editors, we invite for review papers. So we can't invite a review paper from somebody who is just going to learn how to review and produce a paper. No, we go for people who are on top of knowledge in that field. People who know the boundaries of science about what is topical at hand. Okay. Some disciplines have predictable article structures, and we are going to talk about article structures tomorrow. But I just want to highlight, because today we are talking about basics, what you should have as the minimum to be known to have capacity to write. That's what we are trying to put together. Of course, we will not say everything, but we should all be on the same plate as we move around. For example, in the bio and physical sciences, the structure is IMRAD. IMRAD means Introduction, Materials and Methods. At least you should know that you have some kind of shelves within which to put your information. The shelves are already created for you, which is not true for the human science, humanity. Humanity, you have to be creative and create those spaces in which you have to fit your story. But the more you have the liberty to create spaces, the better, because then you can introduce new styles. You can be part of the knowledge creation so that there is something new in the style itself, although it is more challenging and difficult. Okay. The last point here I have for yeah, in publishing, there's a lot of waiting for reviewers, and getting a reviewer is a very difficult thing, and the right reviewer. Even yourselves, if we send you papers, the agency you will give them, there's somebody asking, how do I, where? That hand. The hand. Yeah, you can.
There is a hand up. Maybe you finish then.
Is there a hand up? Maybe
There are
can
two
I?
hands up. Maybe you finish then.
Yeah, maybe we get the clarifications later. Now that point has gone. I can't remember the point. What is the key issues? It's index.
Maybe they wanted to ask questions now.
Yeah.
One or two.
Yeah.
Then we can see.
Okay, administrator, can you let one or two questions right now? Maybe I'm not clear, maybe.
Charles Perry has a hand up, and you can unmute and talk. Charles Perry.
Oh. But I can't hear. It's okay. I can't hear.
Rukia Kosi.
They are just telling somebody.
Yes.
Rukia Kosi.
Yeah, the screen sharing is not showing, please. The screen sharing.
Yeah, we were not moving the slides. It was just clarifications. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing all the complaints in the chat also, so I was wondering. Thank you.
There is a complaint in the chat. No, those were just reactions, discussions on the side. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we proceed?
So we can proceed.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. Okay, before I proceed, there is one point I had forgotten. There's a lot of waiting for reviewers to give us reports. And most of the review reports are not up to standard. and many are negative for the sake of it. So if you write a paper and it may not have a lot of news, but well written, well styled, as an editor, I will take it up because there is something of style for our reviewers to learn from your work, so that I'm able to beat the date of publication. That's one trick we don't reveal to most of our authors. If you have very good style that other people can emulate, that's reasonable enough for us to rethink to accept your paper. Okay, key issues in delivering the message. Here, what we are trying to say is that, okay, in all this, how do we increase the chances of our papers to be accepted? And how can we get the public or the readership getting a lot of interest in our publications? And these days, as well as you know, the authors also are assessed by impact. Okay? So our success in writing and publishing should be assessed at the readership level. Eh? How much interest has your article attracted out there? And how much of it has been used in the application to transform lives, community lives out there? Okay? So what are the tricks that we can use to elevate our articles to those levels? And that's what this paper is going to talk about. The kind of things you want to make sure are used in your writing to increase the chance of impact at community level, at end user level. Those are the things I'm going to talk about. Okay? Now, to begin with, you must have something to write about first before you start writing. And as we have already said, it must be something loaded with news. And ideally, you should organize that news properly and then begin packaging it for whoever the end user. Okay? Don't just get news and start writing. No, organize it in a way, in a sequential way, so that the message, and we call it research message, because most of our publications are research related. We want a research message, and to be even more direct, a research story. The best communication you should have should be in form of a story. Because a story, as you may define it, has a sequence of events, and the message is focused, and it is feeding into each other. The old feeds into the new. You always want the new to come next, so that the reader is held glued on your document because he's expecting something new coming. New coming until the end of the story. Okay? So our writing in publications should be in form of a research story. We don't want to patch up things here and there, and you say this is now ready for publishing. No, we want a story flowing from the start of the problem to the end where you provide answers and recommendations. That's the story we want. If you wrote like that, your papers, more than 60% will be accepted all the time. Okay? Of course, then the way out is if you have a real situation, a data about a real situation, life situation, writing becomes a little easier. But of course, even those fictions, they also have to write, but I'm sure their rules are different. Their thinking is different. But in terms of science, we don't want to imagine something that is not natural because we have just too many problems out there. And by the time you write a paper, you have already done the research, which derived from a proposal, the proposal of which had a problem analysis, and so on. So these results are answering to a problem. Okay? So by the time you now write, you already have about 20% of the information that forms the background to this report. Now, it is also imperative that before we begin writing a paper, we identify the target readership. Who is going to read this? Who is going to be interested in this? And how can we get them interested in what we want to publish, to communicate? Now, you are not, of course, this is a global community. You are not going to know who, but you can characterize the type of readership that you are targeting. Of course, immediately you know you are targeting people from your discipline. There's no doubt about that. So if you are targeting people from your discipline, it means you can use yourself as a template to provide what you would be interested in to know, and how urgently would you like to know what you call news. So put in front the kind of things that should make the kind of news you would be interested in, and if it is not time consuming, if it is very simple, and in scientific writing we say write simply, but we are not saying write simply like you are writing to people of the street. No, you can write simply in plant breeding by using words like jumping genes. I mean, people in breeding already know what jumping genes are. So there's like DNA. These days, of course, DNA is everywhere. DNA, but when you ask people, what is DNA? Just to say the full form of it, you'll get less than 20% or even 10% to tell you what it means. So simple language is the minimum it takes for people to understand what you are saying. Now, we want it simple so that people understand exactly what the news is about. If it's about a protocol, we want people to understand what the protocol is about, how it works, what are the components, what are the limitations, people should understand that without having complications with the language. That is simple language. So if you can define a target group or a target readership, then you should be able to anticipate what kind of language they understand best, that is not going to interfere with the news that you want to pass on to them. So you should have that capacity. And along with that, we don't believe that you can write to everybody. Of course, you can write a news in a newspaper and publish and inform people, and you are not worried whether people are reading it or not, whether there is a feedback or not. That's not true in scholarly writing. That's why you are assessed for impact out there. I don't know which index do they use for authors, Paul? There is the H index, there is the what? Which index?
Readability index.
Readability index, I think. You are being assessed for that. Okay? So you need to be careful as you write, because you need to make impact out there. Now, the problem will be, like Paul said, the what, the who, the what, the the what are answered through extensive writing. You cannot be a good writer without a good pool of vocabulary in your area. You can't. You cannot embrace the cutting edge issues without reading extensively and widely. Okay? So we need to be reading, and reading with a purpose. When you read a paper in your field, in your field, your journals, there's a way they normally place things. You need to emulate those things. You don't need to go to class to know that. If repeatedly the papers you are reading are IMRAD style, IMRAD, that should stick to you right away. And if you want your paper to be accepted quickly, you have to embrace that style. If you can add something else, but that one is a given. Okay? So good writers are good readers. Yes. Yeah, some important things to note as beginners in writing. If you are a beginner, and of course you may not know you are a beginner until certain things become a bit contradictory. The trick is when the information is in the head, there's a lot of mix-up of things. So the best way to do it is to put it on paper in whichever way. Don't worry whether you make obvious mistakes. Don't put it on paper first. Because you have a purpose. You already have a reason why you want to write this paper. You have results, and you are linking with the problem that you had in your proposal. You have to provide answers to that problem to the end users. Okay? So put whatever you have on paper, we can call it offload. And in the head, you will feel even more relaxed after offloading what you have on paper. Then don't worry about editing. Even if the words, there are mistakes, the first time, don't worry. Just offload on paper. Then that forms a basis, a template for editing, restructuring. You can move the first sentence to the last. You can move whatever, the whole paragraph somewhere. You can cross it. You can turn it around. And this draft is going to give you an assignment. Look for this, look for that, look for that, until eventually you get a refined story. But don't try to do writing and editing at the same time. The first challenge will be you put this information here because you had a destination in mind. Okay? So as you take a lot of time trying to reorganize this, the destination goes away and you don't know why you are writing. So you are busy, occupied writing, but writing for what? So offload first, then come back and edit. And in fact, after offloading, you can even give it to a friend. You explain to him verbally, and then he helps you to restructure, to put it back in the order that you want it. And that is where the novelty, the news is. if you can do it without literature influencing you, that is very interesting. It's going to form the backbone of this article. And that is the novelty, the news, okay? The style. Don't rush for literature. First of all, create the information, the story from you. That's what we are most interested in. Create it. Then bring literature to substantiate. You can put open brackets waiting for literature citation, assuming it is there. If it is not there, no problem. See how to restyle yourself back to the story. Okay? That then becomes your paper. It's not paper belonging to literature. It's your own novel thinking. So by doing the offloading, the writing, eventually you are going to perfect in writing with precision. And even more to that, if your paper has been subjected to peer review or to friends reading, whatever they say, don't do this, you'll never repeat it. So the mistakes are going to become fewer and fewer and fewer, so that when you write a paragraph, somebody might think it took you a week, but maybe it has just taken you 30 minutes. And that's why people who are knowledgeable can write a proposal of $500,000 in a week. Within 1 week, they can never be defeated by time is not enough. No, that's out. At least you have something to present, because within the time not enough, you are not alone. Even others are reacting in the same. So precision writing is when you write and do less editing. But that can only happen when you have been writing and rewriting and rewriting and reading and rewriting. That takes you to a precision writing stage. Okay? And I don't know how many of you out there have reached that stage. It would be very interesting. So how many have reached that stage? Okay? Now, one way to operate, to focus yourself so that you don't get confused very much, is right away to generate an objective for your article, for your proposal. First of all, get that objective. And everything else you will be doing, you use that as the reference. Is it relevant? But relevant to what? To the objective. Because the objective is going to tell you when should you end to say, I think I have finished. Because after getting the output or the conclusion, they recommend you have finished. The objective is also going to tell you how far away you should go. You can talk about the width of the body of the story. The objective is the backbone, and it is running through up to the end. And then now you can say, how far away can I go from the objective to know that I'm becoming irrelevant? Okay? So the objective is helping you to define the width of the story and the length of the story. And this can apply in all different circumstances, including meetings. If you don't have a clear agenda, you may either not complete it or you'll complete it vaguely because there are no definite outputs expected from that meeting. Okay? So there are things we can say you can avoid, but again, the list can be very long. If you are writing and you put in too many brackets, I think what you are trying to say is that you want to put things that should not belong to the statement in bracket so that somebody can read without brackets and understand. And if they don't understand, they can now use what is in brackets to understand better. That's wrong. The brackets are going to make the statement very long and confusing. And in writing, especially in scientific writing, we want short statements, simple words, short, crisp paragraphs. We don't want to complicate writing, because when you complicate writing, it will take you away from the subject matter, the reason why you are writing. We want simple writing. And sometimes we even set a question. When I say this, how many of you participants will understand it? And then you tell me the definition, and you realize different people are defining it differently. So that means the chance that it will be misunderstood is very high. If I said show, somebody else will say illustrate, somebody else will say describe, illuminate. But that's not what the if the word is not simple enough, if I can not get 20% people saying the same word, the same meaning, then I know this word has a problem to confuse the reader. I have to get an alternative. And fortunately, Microsoft Word gives you synonyms. I think, is it synonyms?
Yes.
Synonyms and or opposites, and so you can use them to substitute, assuming you also assess the synonyms. You don't just pick them, because the context might not be correct. Then long sentences and long words. The problem with the long sentence, first of all, our readership, our readers, our scientists, their memory, their capacity to think and to absorb is almost saturated or supersaturated, to the extent that they don't have much space for long, complicated things. So simplify them, shorten the sentence as much as possible. But of course, by shortening, don't shorten it too much to make it abstract. Somebody is reading and then there's a full stop before. The mind likes picking somewhere and then dropping to the full stop. Now, if you just pick and stop there, the reading is not interesting at all. Okay? Then long words. We are going to have an example down there, and many of you have seen it before, where people like using long words. Of course, like lawyers, that is a sort of one of their picks in writing style. But we don't want that in scientific writing, because we have facts. We tend to work with the facts. And if you are writing to a mathematician and you're having those long sentences, forget it. Because for them, if possible, try to use a formula, the full stop. A formula makes a lot of sense to them. And therefore, passive writing, passive voice, all of us did English, tends to make the writing longer than active voice. Paul brought the vehicle. The vehicle was returned or brought back by Paul. But the two are meaning the same thing, but one is shorter, the other one is longer. We prefer the shorter one. Okay? And starting with because, whereas, and so on, promises you a long statement. And if you can, shorten it. And there even, what is that formula we used to use to count the number of words, count the number of letters, syllables, count?
I forget.
Fog index.
Fog index, yes. Read about fog index. Fog is like this fog mist, which is thick. Fog index. Please read that when you go back home. Okay? And then some people use acronyms, many or abbreviations. In the one paragraph, you have 10 abbreviations, and you're assuming that the reader is carrying them all over until the end of the story. Please don't expect miracles. And here, you lose if the reader goes to a dictionary, looks for the meaning, gets tired, and gives up reading your work. It costs because the impact, the readership index is going to drop when the reader goes away from your work. Okay? Now, yeah, here are the complicated phrases which can be substituted by a simple word. And I'm not going to go through all this. I'll let you do it when you go back home. For example, attain. When you say attain, without looking at the simple word, what would it mean to you? Most likely you will understand it differently. To attain probably is not, and attain may not mean necessarily mean reach. You can attain a level. Attain is like getting. But what you are trying to write about is not getting, it is something else. So we would prefer that you go for the other something else rather than attain. At this point in time, now. Based on the fact that, because, and so on and so forth. You are substituting without confusing the reader. Okay? But if I were writing what do you call it? This, what are they called in English? There are these what is it? What is it?
Idioms.
Poem. If I was writing or editing a poem, I would completely take out the gist of it. Because for us in science, we are linking dots. But when you write a poem, probably the way you twist it and so on makes a lot of sense. But in science, it will be wasting time. So somebody wanted me to edit his storybook. I told him it's going to lose the meaning if I do it, because anything that is dispensable, I will cross it out. Okay. Now, sometimes when you become lazy, you write what you think, but you're not thinking about the reader, what the reader's interest, the reader's capacity to understand, what the reader calls news. You are no. In writing, we are combining all those things as we move on. Okay? Some people write the way they speak. That can be dangerous, especially for proposals, because even if we delete the names of the authors, the researchers, still somebody will know when they read. They will know automatically the kind of person who could have written this. And that can influence the evaluation. Okay? Overemphasis on obvious issues. Like Paul was saying, we know that rhizobia fixes nitrogen, and it does so in association with the roots. So if you are writing to a soil scientist, you don't need to cite or to quote that, because that's a given. It's a textbook. It's one of the basics. In some circumstances, you can be punished for citing against the obvious,
because that means you are not a professional in that area. Okay? Now, things to watch out against. It continues. We cannot exhaust the list of what to avoid, what to include, but we just mention a few. When you are reviewing literature, especially for proposals, you are justifying your work. You are saying this has not been done before, or this has been done, but done in a sloppy way. That's wrong, because, okay, it might be sloppy, but it's a basis. It's now adding value to your work, trying to say this work is going to do it much better. So it's a way of phrasing things that are detested by different disciplines. Referencing to your work 50% of the time, even 20 in the same paper is wrong, because that means you are recycling your weaknesses and strengths within the publication. We want much more from elsewhere. What is being said elsewhere, and how does that fall into context with what you are saying now? Okay. Over-localizing work, well, this is more for proposals, because the assessors are going to look at the impact of your work. The more the impact in terms of coverage of human beings, in terms of coverage of geographical area, the more you qualify to get the grant. But we are not doing that. But some people will still say something in a district in Kenya, when actually, if it is like for malaria doesn't know the district boundaries. It's across. It can even cross to another country. So if you are writing about malaria, you need to take the geographical coverage of where malaria is a problem, and the kind of people that will benefit. The scope is put in their evaluation. Okay. Overuse of conditional words. If you did research, the conditional words are okay before the research, but now you have finished the research and you are reporting, and then you end up with a speculative conclusion, for example, or conditional. That means you haven't done anything. It means you have left the problem the way you found it, and that's not correct. Or that means your results are premature results. You needed more work to come out with conclusive evidence. Using slangs is incorrect. Try to use some of the terminologies that are acceptable in your discipline. Spelling mistakes are also very bad. I mean, it only reflects on how disorganized you are, how careless you are. So try to make sure that you clean up and you don't have spelling mistakes. Okay. Punctuation marks, comma, colon, semicolon, and so on. Where you have a semicolon, I don't know how to demonstrate it here, is a semi-full stop. So why don't you try a full stop? Because you remember we said we need short statements, short words, short and simple words. Then when the statements become too many, we begin to think about paragraphing. But in paragraphing, it is best when you switch from one idea to another. For example, the study is about mangoes and oranges, for example. So we want you to take both together, oranges and mangoes, oranges and mangoes. So that means after oranges, go next to mangoes to talk about that idea about mangoes. Okay? Now, the break between those two is the paragraphing. One paragraph on this, next paragraph on that. And it becomes systematic. The reader begins to anticipate that that's the order of the text. Okay? Of course, don't introduce new ideas along the way. You are now talking about sugarcane, and sugarcane has nothing to do with the objective of this study. No, that one you just take it out. Okay. Also decide on what type of English you want to use, and the type it's not you to use, rather the readership. What kind of English do they use? Because you are giving it to them and you want them to be interested. And then try to polarize your text, your narrative towards that type of English. Okay. The last bullet, I think that one you can hold on, because eventually we are going to ask you to identify a journal to publish in. And when you select one, it is going to tell you about how to handle italics and bold and whatever. And, okay. Yeah. Ideally, for any kind of writing, if it is writing to inform, the order is start from where the reader knows, where the reader's knowledge ends, and then connect with that knowledge and now tell a story going away from what he knows to what he doesn't know. And ideally then, you begin to use new terminologies that they are not used to. They will be able to tolerate that. But don't start with the new terminologies at the end of the reader's knowledge. No. You are going to disinterest them in continuing to read your work. Okay? Also, we normally start with the like global situation in the background, or sub-Saharan Africa, and then end with the local situation. And along the way, even the terminologies are going to change to become more complicated, because you are now becoming more specific to talk about the issues that you did research on and the answers and that it gives the room to the reader to understand and to appreciate and to bear with the difficulty of understanding of this new thinking. Okay. Ideally, it's good to share whatever you write with your colleague in the office, in whatever, and you can identify who will add value to what you are doing or what you have done. Many people have writers' clubs. They form clubs and they write together. And when they finish, like a school, they remain partners and multiply their publications, because when this one has results and whatever, you publish together. You co-publish and you end up getting many papers, and you don't stop learning how to write. Okay? Many people think if they share, the other one will steal the results and either publish or whatever. That is incorrect. Okay, it's true, but the source of information is with one of you. The guy who steals will end very fast and will never, the drive to continue will get exhausted very fast. But the one who initiated it had a bigger picture for it and can initiate even more. So don't get discouraged by that, because the capacity to initiate is still there with you. Okay? Now, when somebody has offered to read through your work, please give them attention and thank them. Don't become defensive. Don't try to criticize them, because at the end of the day, if what they are saying is correct, it will haunt you and it will come back in the reviewer's reports, probably in a worse form than your colleagues have mentioned. Now, again, I would like to say that it is best if you can, first of all, write a draft of the whole paper without literature around you. Literature will imprison you, it will handcuff you, because when you write a very good statement, it is difficult to incorporate it in the way you are writing. And the immediate option is, let me be putting it here, I will come back and edit it. For heaven's sake, that will not happen, because more and more of those statements will be used and you will no longer be able to tell which is yours and which is not yours. Okay? So put away all the literature, all the what, and write a story by yourself. Okay? Then you can go to literature and improve your story, but don't improve the literature story with your ideas and you think that's your work. It's not. If you cannot write a draft without literature, that means you don't have capacity. That you are doing what you should not be doing. Okay? I think that's all I can say for this. There are other things down which you are going to read on your own. And like Paul was saying, there's a saying that I have never known a person who perfects in writing by merely talking about it. There are many people out there, when they write something, you really feel it is good, but it is meaningless unless it can contribute to a publication. And they are busy waiting for other people's write-ups to knock them down. But themselves, they will write tomorrow. Tomorrow. Now, we generated a list of things that you can use to guide you in writing, especially for beginners. But again, remember, get the objective first, and we are going to see how to do it tomorrow. Okay? By the time you begin thinking of writing a paper, that means you have done research, you analyze the data, and you have the data. So synthesizing an objective that befits the data should not be an issue, because you already thought through this work before you did the research and you wrote a proposal and whatever. So these results are now answering to the problem that you generated before you implemented the research. Okay? And we have quite a list. I think I will end here, and then we get questions. We can combine. Is it? Yeah. We combine the questions from. Yeah.
Some questions in the chat. Question and answer.
You
tried to interview.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I can come.
You come. Hey, I don't know what I have even. Hello? Do we still have
Yes.
you? Are you there?
Yes, there are people are there, and you wanted them to talk, or
Yeah, please. Please
so
go
those
ahead.
ones who want to ask the questions live, they can raise their hands so that we can allow them to speak. But also, professors, there are questions in the question and answer,
Yes, I have
which
seen.
needs to be.
Let's see, dear organizers, team, until what time this workshop? Hey, in the next few minutes. It goes on up to 5. So in the next few minutes, will we get certificates? Yes, you'll get certificates. But a certificate is based on attendance. For example, if you've not answered the survey, you already a candidate for not getting. So how do I join the WhatsApp group? I think you put your phone in the chat room, and somebody is responsible to pick it up, and they will put you onto the WhatsApp group. We were explained at the beginning that Forum will not be the one to create, but among yourselves, somebody has taken. Okay, please, will the first give us the slide? Yes, every end of day, we give the information, not just the slides, but also additional reading material. So once we finish, I'll be sending this to Forum, and Forum will send to you. Is it an academic requirement for an award? Yes. I think this is why publish. Yes. I'm sure you have seen the conversations. It is. There are awards that they put up, and the Pfizer award, very Nobel Prize awards. If you've not published, they will ask for at least 5 publications. Reasons, publishing, knowledge sharing. Yes, we indicated that. We publish to disseminate information. Yes. Career advancement. Yes. Research is about discovery. Correct. If there is nothing that you've discovered, then there is no news. You will only demonstrate that you are able to do research and you get your degree. Kindly make some adjustment. The sound quality is not clear. There is echo disturbance. Yes, I think we had 2 computers close to one another and we muted the other. Dear organizers, till what time? Okay. Give more info on systematic and scooping reviews. Okay. When we were putting this together, I did highlight through forum that systematic and scooping reviews is a comprehensive undertaking that is becoming of great interest. So the consideration is that this will be another workshop where we shall be talking about the Prisma process of how to write a systematic review. Please, is a policy brief an article? Yes, a policy brief is a scholarly output. And there are journals that publish policy briefs. Yeah, policy brief. There are journals that also publish posters or brochures. Yeah, so all these are publications. Anything scholarly. Which of these article types are peer reviewed? I think we did highlight. Some are not, some are peer reviewed, like preprints are not peer reviewed. Working papers are normally not peer reviewed. They have light peer review within the institution, not double-blind peer review. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. You've talked about different types. However, I have seen articles called literature review papers or just a review. Yes, that is in the category of review. The review could be a scooping review. It could be a systematic review. It could be, yeah. So should I think they are right? Yes, they are. Do we have an attendance sheet? Yes, we have. I think you have to register. Before you come to this, you register yourself. I am Oplands Isaac with BS Agriculture and Irrigation in Visitema and just been awarded MS plant by focusing on cereal and breeding from Hungarian University of Agriculture and Life. Do you have any training, graduate apprenticeship, volunteering, or jobs in agriculture field in Uganda provided by Ruforum? Okay. Ruforum colleagues will answer this question. Can I say that paper review is more or less than summarizing an article? No. A paper review, a systematic review is a paper on its own. What we're going to do is that we're going to share examples of the different paper types that we've talked about. And I'm sure in putting together this training, the focus is on journal papers. So beginning tomorrow, we're going to take off in the direction of step-by-step process of developing a journal article, paper, original paper. This was more of an introduction to the basics, and the how to do it will now come through tomorrow. Yeah, we start tomorrow on the how of things. Okay. Dear organizers, until what time? I think that's a repetition. Need to seek permission from the authors of a book or academic article before reviewing. Yes, you need, of course. Slide not moving. I think that's when we were explaining certain things which are not on slides. Talk about publication fees. Yes, we will. In the course of the week, we'll talk about publication fees. Why does AGSCS refuse one after a long period of waiting for reviews? Is this the African Crop Science Journal? And it was accepted. What causes such scenarios? Yeah, all different journals have different standards. Why does AJS refuse my manuscript after a long period? Pauline, different journals have different standards. And it is possible that you revised your manuscript after that long period, so it became a better manuscript. And my colleague here did mention that sometimes we are looking for news. But even when your paper is not newsworthy, the news could be the style of writing. And an editor can pass a paper because of the style of writing, with the end in view that different scholars are going to learn from that style, appreciate it, and promote scholarly writing that is well structured and is point on.
Yeah, but AJS is a system for receiving submissions.
Yeah, I think she submitted to a journal,
which are used as AJS.
Yeah, which is OJS. Dear organizers team, until what time? I join a bit late. I would like to know inquire training duration. 5 days up to Friday. We start at 2 to 5. What's the time now? Start at 2 to 5. Hey, we still have what would be the ideal ways of expressing research gaps in literature? I think we're going to talk about literature synthesis and literature review. So day 3 will address that. Very interesting idea, writing my own story before visiting literature. Surely I am going to try this. Yes, literature is not about cut and paste. It's about writing your own story. Otherwise, if people knew that you're looking for it, they know where to find the literature. So they would get the literature from there.
Literature incapacitates you.
What makes a literature paper to attract many citations? The news. The news in a paper, the news in the research paper makes it attract many citations. Also, the journal in which you've published it, because some journals
Have more readers.
have more readers. They have established their profile. They have more readers. There are journals that, for example, Annals of Applied Biology publishes a volume every 2 weeks. So those are so many volumes, and so it has a lot of readers. But then there are some journals that publish in 1 year, one journal now, one issue. So that can cause some delays. And then also the journal scope. For example, I gave you an example of veterinary opinion. Now, veterinary opinion is a journal for vets, and it is just publishing opinions. So all of vets will be looking out for vet opinion. Yeah. Then now if you have African Crop Science Journal, you know, crop science is so broad a field. it has post-harvest, it has environmental issues, it has social science in it, it has soil science, it has agronomy, it has horticulture, it has economics of the crops and what. So now, yeah. And then crop science in itself is still a discipline, but there are some general journals. Now, if you have a general journal, then everything else fits. There is a theology. After theology, you have biochemistry. Then after biochemistry, you have literature. And then a poem. Then after a poem, you have refugees. Then so your paper on plant breeding and seed system gets lost in that general journal. So I think we will be talking about choice of journals. What do you do to choose a journal for publication? Yes, fill the survey in order to be eligible for the certificate. Yeah. Some of us will start masters in August. Shall we get certificate? Yet the survey is asking for highest level of qualification. I think the forum will answer that. But I think for as long as you attend, you'll get a certificate and then follow through. So please register. How does one know that paper is impactful to the public? Yes, there are Google Analytics, and there is something called research interest of your paper. How many researchers, and you don't influence this. It is done through Google Analytics. It's automatic. So that automation keeps giving an individual paper the interest. For those who have challenges in English language, how can we know whether it is written in US English or, yeah, when you're writing a paper, it is advisable that after you've finished, you give it to a colleague to read. And it is known because the Americans use Z in fertilizer, while the British use S.
Yeah, it's more, there's more to that.
Yes, those are the kind
The
of
style,
things. The style of writing and what, yeah. So,
the editors will tell you.
and sometimes, this is a very good question, sometimes a paper will not be rejected because of this. Once the editor confirms that it has news and it has good substance, then they get interest in the paper.
That's why they edit.
Yeah, and then the journal is responsible for the editorial process. Now, the editorial process is also about improving the English in your paper. So they will do this with you and for you. The challenge that I have seen is that sometimes, especially among young scholars, you improve a paragraph and they just don't want it improved. You send it to them, they send back the same thing back. And you try to ask what is happening. They say, no, that's not what I meant. My message is being distorted. Now, you go into a stalemate. You delay your paper to publish. Sometimes some authors even withdraw their papers. They say, no, the journal is distorting my message. Oh. How can undergraduates who are looking forward to their masters fill the survey, since this is a repeated question? I think you're looking forward to your masters. So I think you can jump that question, Gladys. Yeah, and this training was targeting early career. You know, it's good that we're talking about this because the International Council for Scientific Union defines scientists in a very interesting way. So it does not include undergraduates as scientists. No, I think scientist is from
It's from research.
yeah, from research. So it's a master's and above. Dear Professor, when we talk about the need to understand readership, what key issues or metrics should we consider? We've talked about the FOGO index. We'll look up a paper on FOGO index, but one of the matrices and characteristics is the length of your words and the articulation in the words. You know, we said utilization. You see, that's a long, yeah, but it's the same as use. Yeah, so you see, once you say utilization, then you curtail readership. But once you say use, you are more inclusive. So one of the parameters is inclusivity of your write-up. I write a paper for publication. Should I be influenced by the readership or focus on relying on the message? But now, if your message is not going to be understood, we are writing for the audience. So
You're not writing for yourself.
yes, we call that selfish writing.
Otherwise, you keep it in there.
Yeah, we call that selfish writing. If you're writing for yourself, then the society will not benefit from your writing. Can we stop here and then hear from you as well? I tried to pick a couple of questions, but can we hear from you? Hello? Dr. Rujararo, can you help moderate? Yeah, it is fun.
Okay, let me
Yes,
allow
please.
people to talk.
Yeah, please.
I've allowed a number of people to talk. We have Wilson Mambo and Collins Ndiwa. Wilson or Collins, can you unmute yourself?
Thank you so much. My name is Collins Ndiwa from Moi University. I graduated with economics, but I am interested in scientific research and the economics of science. And my question is how to avoid plagiarism completely?
How to avoid plagiarism completely? Paraphrase. Paraphrase, write without literature. In fact, what we normally say is that you use literature to back up your writing and don't back up literature. Yes. Because backing up literature is that you're just going to pick what exists out there. But now, write without literature. And then after writing without literature, tell the world that, well, this statement here relates to what somebody else said. Then, yeah. So back up your writing with literature and not the other way around. Then you
Contextualize your writing using literature.
Yeah. Then you will avoid the plagiarism. So we are saying here that contextualize your writing using literature. And then where you find that you've seen a very good statement, a very good paragraph in literature, then we are saying paraphrase. Paraphrase. So first read that paragraph and write it the way.
Put away that literature.
Yes.
And then rephrase.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Write it the way you understand. Okay, thank you. Next.
Wilson Mambo. He's not unmuting. Maybe if we could have other people raising their hands.
There's a question about people coming from French-speaking countries. Are they talking about this training being in French with translation? That is probably not provided for now. But if you're talking about journals in French, yes, they are there. And you are free to package your paper in French and target those journals. Actually, the French speakers have an advantage over the Anglophone, Lusophone, because the Anglophone normally know one way. They are just Anglophone, that's it. But the Francophone, they have both. They have English and they also have French. So
we have a number of people who have hands up.
Okay, please go ahead.
Themselves.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fine. I'm Pamela. from the University of Kenya. So I'm so much happy for this initiative, and I think you had trained us sometimes back. Now, my concern is about research in Africa, because Africans, we have been really conducting so many researches, but again, putting them into utilization to help us develop our countries, our continent is not there. So we, as the researchers here, what initiative are we going to put in place?
You're asking me for?
Somebody's talking. There is noise at the background.
I'm the one helping him.
Okay, fine. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, so I'm asking myself, even in this platform, we have so many researchers. How best can we select the journals that we have written to inform us in developing or improving our continent? Then lastly is about the theories. Most of the
I'm the
theories
one managing this training.
that have been used are foreign from international mesh continents. How can we, as Africans, develop our own theories that benefits our culture? Because if the theories goes with our culture, then we'll be able to draw back our wealth and bring a lot of understanding. So those are my two concerns. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. You know, when you look at an atom is an atom, whether in Kenya or in Kampala or in Japan or in Florida. So science is science, and science is a human enterprise. It's an endeavor that promotes a global good. When you come up, when a knife was developed, previously people were using stones to cut and chisel. So a knife was developed. We now use a knife, or it's a household, whether in New York, So science is a global good. Science has nothing like foreign theories that benefit culture. No, science is a global good. But I can understand, and I feel you, because probably we are saying that there are some practices that probably are given to a particular community, and sometimes those practices are either not promoted, or they are not the best suited. There is something better, and if there is something better, that is the reason why we do research. Why stick on something traditional? If I want to treat malaria, and then I use a concoction, but we know that through the 6 steps of drug development, this concoction has been packaged into a lethal dose. Now, why do I have to take a jerrycan of Artemisia annua, and yet I can find this concentration that comes from a jerrycan? I can find it in a tablet. So that's why we now go for what we call modern science. Because science, yes, it can be modern. Sometimes it is looked at as demeaning practices that were already found, but
Can you hear me, please?
the transparent way to look at it is that in most cases, science is improving on that which
Can you hear me?
Yeah, and that is the reason why we do science. We want to improve and make life better.
Nobody is preventing you from.
Yeah.
Hello?
And there is no police man or woman to stop us from doing our science, innovation. The only challenge maybe we have is resources.
Yeah, it's costly.
It's costly,
Time-consuming.
time-consuming.
When there is something else that works.
So there is nothing like foreign theories. And if you develop a theory in Africa, the global market is open for knowledge. That's why they are saying share.
Yes.
Like in Uganda, COVID was an issue, but in Uganda, there was COVIDX developed here, and it worked earlier than some of the interventions from outside.
Yeah.
So it has been taken up and is being used as well outside, and yet it was developed here. So,
yeah. Then you talked about issues of research into use and putting it into practice. In this teaching, in this training, we are talking about the need to publish. Now, if you do research and you have data and you've not published, then you've done a disservice to the global community, to the scientific community, and not just to the scientific community, but to human endeavor. So you publish, put it in a journal.
I think what she's talking about.
And then it will be picked up and used by others.
You see, the journal is one channel for publication.
Yes.
But there's information that is not necessarily for journals, but it's straight directly useful to the end users. And that is through extension and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So really, this journal is one aspect of getting information to users, who might be different from the end users. But the turning the science into what? Into use.
Into use.
Is more for the end users from where the problem started. Yeah. And I think that is also going on, but it's not the topic for today.
Yeah. I remember the DFID, the Department of the Funding Institution for UK, funded research that was looking at research into use. So turning research into products, product development. And there are still many agencies out there that are funding research into use. Okay, over to you. I hope we've answered your questions and your concerns.
Yeah, there are many people who want to ask questions.
Please,
maybe
go
they
ahead.
can ask and respond. Please, colleagues whom I have given opportunity to talk, please talk.
Okay, good afternoon, good evening to us all. This is Edia Stella Filbert speaking, a student from Uganda Christian University, currently doing my master's in agribusiness and entrepreneurship. So I appreciate you for this program. It is still so good. Mine is there a way do you offer training more? Like, do you have where you train people more on this? Because I'm interested to be part of these writings and publications. Thank you.
Sorry, come again. Is there a way where we can train more people?
Yeah, do you have whereby like those who are interested, because I'm within Kampala, where you offer trainings of this scientific writing, like proposals and research, or
yeah, we can make arrangements on demand, and Reforum has been doing this. These write shops are mounted every year. You could say every 6 months there is a write shop. So UCU is a member university to Reforum, so you can go through Reforum. And Reforum has also sent us to individual universities. I remember one time we gave a training in Chambogo. We have done this at Makerere. We have done this at Gulu.
With that university.
Yeah, we have done.
Went to Rubaga.
Yes, and yes, you see Rubaga campus. So please feel free, and you can make arrangements for this. Yeah. Hello. Next.
Members, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Nampal and Prof. Tenywa. Must say I'm very grateful to learn from you. My name is Tony Abok. I'm from UICT, and I would like to start my PhD probably this September or August. I have two questions. One is how many articles can someone review when he's doing systematic reviews? Maybe the minimum number of articles he can work with. Then two, today I didn't know much about these other publications besides the original research and the reviewed papers.
Okay, pleased to hear that you learned something. Oh, you're still going on. Oh, pleased to
I
hear
think he had
that
finished.
Yeah, pleased to hear that it was a learning moment for you. A number of articles that you can review to write a systematic review or a review article. Now, there is a method that can tell you, and you use approaches of data saturation. Once you reach data saturation approach, then you know. And it is a data saturation is when you're looking for responses to a particular question, and you are getting the same responses after you've reached maybe 30 papers or 100 papers. And these students, you're doing statistics. I think there is a course also mounted by Dr. Dong and Professor Balaba, still through Forum. And I think these issues of data saturation are discussed. So there is a process, and it follows 8 steps. Systematic reviews follow 8 steps in a process. And as I said, for this training, we are laying a foundation for getting published. And we are giving you information. And the structure here, or the understanding here, is that we are all doing research, and our focus is largely original research articles for journals. And that is what we're focusing on.
Yeah, but okay, in addition to data saturation, and I hope you've understood what it means. It means that every time you search for an article, you find it is saying the same thing. So that it means you have reached the limit of news about that article. Okay, beyond that, you don't continue. But the other way is there is a period for the review. The review should not assume that it's the first review about that subject. People have done a lot of review before. So about a 10-year interval has been the conventional period, but it can be less than 10 years. But of course, not less than 5 years. That will be too close. Okay? So you need to mention the base year and then review literature within that period, not beyond. You can refer to literature beyond, but not as a basis for what you are talking about. Next.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Please go ahead.
Louder, please.
Are you getting me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Emmanuel from Juba University in South Sudan, a scholar in Tokyo University of Agriculture and Technology, doing my master's. Thank you for your presentations. Mine is a question on conflict of interest when you are publishing a paper. Then secondly is how we can be able to know the quality and the standards of a journal for us to publish papers as beginners. Over to you.
Okay. Conflict of interest. It is now becoming a trend.
You should tell us.
No, I understood.
Conflict of interest. Who is conflicting the interest here? as you are writing a paper and then you are conflict of what interest?
I think what he means.
What I mean is sometimes when you are writing a paper, maybe you have to declare people who contributed, maybe financially or in another way for the success of that paper, maybe collaborative, like something like that.
Sorry, I think the way we received your question was also a conflict of interest among the facilitators, but it's okay. My understanding is that papers ask for a section. There's a section normally before the reference, which says that you have to declare your bias and conflict of interest. For example, I may be working under Pfizer. Pfizer is a drug company, and then I'm publishing a paper on Artemisia annua, which is also the malaria plant, and that can be a conflict of interest. So in publishing, we have to be ethical. So if there is a conflict of interest, it doesn't mean that the paper doesn't have news. The issue is about declaring that conflict of interest. That I funded the research and probably participated again in the research, and then I'm now publishing that research. So that there are statements that you put to declare, and you will find those statements where people say that this paper was financed by Ruforum through the MasterCard Foundation. Nonetheless, the ideas presented by the paper are those of the authors. So MasterCard and Ruforum cannot answer for that data. They funded you to publish. They can't answer for that data. It is the authors. And then the author also has no business to do with MasterCard or Ruforum.
But the answer to the participant, your answer is the journal you are publishing in has guidelines and instructions. So if one of their requirements is to declare a conflict of interest, then you have to. But if it is not asking for it, you may provide it, but it might not be imperative. Okay?
And sorry, I think we focused on conflict of interest, but you had the part B of your question. What?
Okay, the other second question. The second question is on the quality of the journal.
Okay.
How can we determine, because of the trends, today's trends in journal is now more, some of them are more of commercialization, they are commercialized.
Yeah, there are so many things that we can do to determine the quality of the journal. First of all, we are talking about peer review. There are many journals where articles may not be peer reviewed. So even when you get the peer review, the content in the peer review is not material warfare. It's not convincing. So it's about the peer review. And journals that are established over time, they create a stature. They create a visibility. And that visibility is about their readership index, how many people are reading the journal. That visibility is about the frequency of the journal. There are some journals, for example, that are quarterly, but maybe the last issue they published was 2019. So now you submit your paper, and then they are now going to process, and the publication will come out 2025, and it is saying it is a volume of that journal for 2020. Now you can see these credibility issues that even when you want to present your paper now to promotion or something, it will be reading 2020, because you will not be there always to explain, no, this paper came out in 2025, except the journal delayed. So you can then there are so many things, as I said. There is also what we call the journal has a board, the editorial board. And this is very common in universities where we establish departmental journals. And then it ends on volume 1 of 1. Some head of department or dean wanted the papers to be published, and so they started a journal. And then you see the dean is the editor, and 5 papers in that journal are authored by the dean. And you never see another issue. After 6 years, then another issue comes. So you can see all these kind of things.
Yeah, but I think the way to do it, did you say is a master's student?
Yes.
Yes, the way to do it is to consult your supervisor, or to read, as you read the papers, also look at the list of references at the back. Every published article has a list of references cited. And then you begin to see the frequency of journals that are cited in your field, on your subject. And try to find out more about those journals, either from those who published in them, or there is also the list of what are those journals? List of plagiarism. What is it called?
Predatory.
Yeah, they're called Predatory.
Check that out and see. Although for them they only suspect, but the readers take it for granted that every journal that is there has a problem. But for them, they see certain features, and they suspect that journal is a plagiarism journal. So do some background yourself. But the best way is read papers, consult your supervisor, consult your colleagues who published there, and get some more information. Of course, some journals are more difficult to publish in than others. Although you might choose them, some of them are more expensive. The fees might be prohibitory. So that also should be put into context. Yeah.
Can I just add a little one, Prof?
Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Banda from Malawi. I think one way again we could check whether a journal is good could be checking the abstraction and indexing of that journal. You may be talking about whether it is SSCI, if it's in social sciences, or SCI. You could also be looking at the whether it's Q1, Q2, Q3, much as this may also be attached to what Prof has just said concerning the price or the APC charge. So it's very important, especially if you are talking about publishing for the sake of promotion or whatever. You may really need to go for a journal which is well indexed, because different universities will have their own criteria for checking whether you have published in good journals. Another way could also be, you could easily be suspicious by seeing a journal which says quick publication. Then they would be talking about, you submit today, 3-4 days later it is published and you pay some crazy funds. That could also be bringing some suspicion to you. That's what I wanted to say, Prof. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, but we are going to discuss this, I think, around Friday. Selecting a journal. Writing a paper should not be dictated by the journal you want publishing. Rather, you put together all that a paper requires, and then finally select which journal you want publishing, and fine-tune the paper towards that journal. But ideally, keep the first draft free of the adjustments towards the journal, because most likely that first attempt might be rejected. And when it is rejected, you come back to the original and then select another journal, then customize it, customize your draft again to another journal, and so on until you get one that will work for you. So don't put forward the journal you want before you write a paper. You'll be very disappointed in the end when the paper is rejected, because you have invested all the interests in it, and now it is rejected, and you have to look for another journal and then readjust. And that's the way of life of an academician. You have to bow to the requirements. Hello? Are we still there?
Sure, we are, Prof.
Administrator?
Yes, we are there. I think we can move, I think, to the next person, or you are done with the questions?
Okay. Let me say this as a fill up, and it would be for tomorrow. We are learning or appreciating how to write a paper. And within it, we are looking for the quickest way of writing a quality paper. Okay? Now, to write a paper means you have done research and you have generated results. And that's where the undergraduate becomes short of the process. Because at undergraduate level, I don't think they have the results yet. And to get those results, there was a lot done in conceiving a proposal, a problem statement, description, analysis, before you focus down on what you did to generate the results. So that background information is very, very important. We are not operating from a vacuum. So now that we have results and we are looking at a thesis or a project, and given that we can publish only where there is news, that means not all the results from a project can be published. In fact, all of them may not be published if they have no news, including your thesis. Okay? And
we have 4 more people, Prof, who have hands raised. Colleagues, could you unmute?
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much, Prof, for an insightful ready discussion. You know, I don't want to dwell on the past, on the previous question raised, but my question is on actually, is there any significant differences in writing a scientific article, journal article, and a policy briefs, and what attributes should one consider in writing a policy briefs?
well, we consider what is the purpose. So why are you writing this policy brief? Rather than even talking about scientific, why are you writing it? Who are the consumers who are waiting for the paper, the article? And then you formulate the article to meet the consumer interests, and priorities. You fine-tune the contents of the paper to fit, because somebody is already waiting for it there. But if it has no exit point, nobody waiting for it, forget it. Don't waste your time. So the point is, it's not a scientific paper, no. It is, do you have the news? Yes. Who wants this news? How can it get to those people without any distortion at all? What you meant here is what has arrived at the reader's desk, and now the reader responds based on the contents of what you have packaged. how best can you do it to influence the reader to do things the way the results are saying. So I don't see policy or whatever. It doesn't matter which way, but the thing is package for the end user so that the end user is able to use the results from your research, your effort, without asking many questions, because you are not going to be there. They should be answering to themselves based on the contents of what you have provided to them. Is that okay?
Hello.
Yeah, but also there is a very sharp difference between a policy brief and a journal article. Although, as we said, there are some journals that specialize in publishing policy briefs, but there is a very sharp difference. A policy brief is normally not more than 5 pages. Or even 3
to 1, 2 pages.
Yeah, but there are some policy briefs like I think IITA, IFIPRI, they come up with policy briefs that are really bulky. They can go to 10 pages or 15 pages. But ideally, the real understanding of a policy brief is that it's supposed to be brief.
Like a leaf.
Yeah, it is for busy people, people that, so the messages in there are packaged differently. There is, you may find that these things of significant difference, p value, variance, statistical language is put to a minimum. You'll just tell people that
Considerable difference.
these things of treatment that I had 6 treatment. No. You are just telling people what is the message. You're telling them use of this gives more yields.
Results in this.
Yes, and so it's totally different. Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay,
presenters. Can
go
you hear me?
ahead.
Can you hear me?
Please go ahead.
Okay, I'm Benson. Thank you for the nice presentation. Mine is about someone who asked about review papers. There's something I want to talk about, and then I ask my question. When you're doing a review paper, we are having a free online software called VersaViewer. This software is very good. You download it, and then it works with Java, and then from there it has the menu whereby you command the years, like you want to do either climate change and food security, from which either from 1996 up to date. Then it has a section where you put the keywords from what you want to work on. You put in the keywords separated by and then the keywords will be in small letters. And then from there, it gives you a lot of information, almost over 900 papers that you have published from that area which you are working on. And then from there, you have to clean it and come up with what you want. And then you can do like top 10 authors, key areas, or you can work on organizations, countries, and then you come up with a strong review paper with findings. Then another thing which I wanted to ask is all about the access to Scopus. When you're working with these review papers, at times you search them from Scopus website, Web of Science and Dimensions. Personally, I use the Dimensions, and I've ever used the Web of Science, but Scopus, you subscribe. I would wish to know from Ruforum if they are having access to Scopus, and in case they have, I don't know whether they could share with us the key or the password, or how can beneficiaries of Forum benefit from accessing reading materials from Scopus, and this would also enhance our reading. Then lastly, I hear that all publishers that ask for money are predatory in nature. Reason being, they are more interested in money than the quality of the paper. An example is MDPI. These people, they can even publish your paper within a month, and then you pay the money. Should I think that their rigorous processes tight more than those of Springer, Elsevier, and Francis, which is not. So I would wish to know the more clarification about these publishers that ask for money, because most of the people who are going to promote the staff members, if you are submitting a paper that will be published in a publisher that asks for money, at times it's not considered for promotion. Yes, thank you so much.
Did you understand the question? Please
Not quite. Well, it was hard to get the questions. It was pretty hard. But the last one, for example, you said journals which charge money should not be trusted. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
They should not be trusted. You see, there is open access. And open access, I think, is in two versions. There's completely free open access and the open access with the charges. Now, the challenge with the producing a journal is that you have to go through review, and the review, some reviewers charge for their service. And then we employ secretaries and some editorial assistants who keep track. That is their full-time job to do at the office. And these people have to be paid. And we don't have a source of payment for them. So if the journal has to survive, the reviewer, the authors have to contribute. Now, it used to be that there was a subscription scheme whereby the readers, hello?
Go ahead, just go ahead.
Yes, go ahead. Someone, I'm going to mute them.
Yeah,
Hello?
the original scheme was the readers would have to pay. But now it was switched. It is the authors to pay. But some of the good journals or right journals are, they only charge you if your paper has been accepted. So a lot of papers are reviewed. Those that are rejected don't pay. But those that are successful contribute some money for production of those papers. So I really don't know. It would have been best to do it free of charge. But for African journals, I think it is very complicated. It can't happen.
Yes, we have one last person.
Yeah, but also you can do your own self-evaluation. Look at, or you can, together with your supervisor, look at the review reports which are sent to you. If they are such that you can do them in 1 day or 2 days, then you should be suspicious about it. But if the review report is comprehensive and you are challenged to answer to them genuinely, then there should be a point in this journal. It can't be like any other journal which is asking for money without giving you a review report.
No?
Please go ahead, the last person.
Thank you very much for this great foundation presentation, which I see it's a foundation actually on research writing. I'm a PhD student and I have just one question. Of recent, I've submitted a manuscript to one of a reputable journal. It was like 3 months ago for publication, and it's under peer review now. But surprisingly, I'd been receiving also message from them asking me to review other papers which are actually being submitted to that similar journal. So at times I was looking like, is it not a conflict of interest, or is it ethically right to review a paper from a journal that I've already submitted a paper to, and which is actually under peer review, and they're also sending me another paper, a manuscript to review? I just need an advice on that. Do I accept to review that paper or no? Yeah, thank you.
I think you need to be pleased to have been selected, because there are many scientists out there with the same qualifications, but may not be having the opportunity to even review. But don't be surprised when your paper comes out when rejected, by the way. So don't think that you are working maybe for some kind of reward or conflict of interest. No. Here, this is the transparency. We want something that is acceptable by people in your discipline, by the target groups, by any person. We don't want a question about your work. So by requesting you to review, it means the editors saw something special in you, in your work, and they have a feeling that you should be the right person to be helping with the review. Okay. Secondly, it might be that you acted very fast when you first reviewed. Some reviewers have taken a few months, even a year, even never to reply. So that might be one of the catches, that you replied quickly, and therefore you are helping them to get the necessary papers to get to the next issue very fast. It has nothing to do with the conflict of interest.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
You
Thank you
should
for
pride
that.
yourself.
Thank you.
Because when they send you the papers and you review, the quality of writing and reading improves.
Yeah.
And you are not paying fees for it, like you were attending classes and you are forced to read an article. No, this is at leisure, and they are helping you to, improve. Which area is that, so that we can send to you also?
I'm an epidemiologist.
Pardon?
Epidemiologist. I'm a vet. Yeah, public health. I specialize on zoonosis.
Okay.
This is from Nairobi?
This is from Tanzania.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next, time is running out.
Just one last responder.
1 minute.
Oh, thank you. Just a quick one. Yeah, I just wanted to add on what the previous speakers just said about being selected as a peer reviewer. Thanks, Prof, that you have ably said that. I just wanted to add that sometimes when you submit an article, a manuscript to a journal, there's a statement where you agree to say, I'll be available as a peer reviewer. So many times people just take that as, people want to agree to everything and they don't even know what they've agreed to. So that's why sometimes you may be asked, though other journals will not even ask you to be available, they will just send you if you have submitted a paper to them. I just wanted to add that, Prof. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. And some journals will ask you for names of reviewers in your area. Not that they are going to use them, but they just want to generate a database to be used. So time is up. I think we
have some homework for you.
Some homework.
And it is up on the slide. As rightly observed, today is day 1, and we are going on until 18th, 5 days of engaging and interaction. And yes, today was a day for laying the what we have called basics in scholarly publishing. And given the time, we can't claim that we have finished everything, but we are going to share articles that will address a number of things: plagiarism, ethical considerations, and like we said at the beginning, we expect that you are going to be keen enough to actually read these articles, because that's when you get value from your time. Otherwise, it will be very good time not used well. And sometimes we make a joke and we say, we know people who are candidates of the next training. That Reform is mounting another training, so there they go. And yet they were part of this training. So we would like you to take these skills seriously so we can learn together. So we would like you to list common questions that come to mind when challenged to write a journal publication. Simply list them and submit. The email is there indicated, my email, nampalap@yahoo.co.uk. So we'll pick them up, and we know we will, because given the time, and we've tried to answer your questions. I have been typing in the chat room in the question and answer, but maybe I've not answered all the questions. So if you think that your question is not been answered, please list it, so we'll be able to get back. And Reform has mechanisms for doing these things, so we should be able to do it with you. Yeah. Yeah, the FOG index. So we're going to read more about the FOG index and more. Yeah. So I don't know whether Reform is ending this now, but
Yes.
there was a hand up. Can we take that last one? There was some hand up. I was also interested in responding to more questions. If you are not going to close it immediately.
Maybe we shall just give you like 5 minutes only.
Yes,
and
I
then we
remember the
close.
last training we had. The closer would be at the dot. I said, hey, serious.
It was South African.
But go ahead, yeah.
Southern African. Malawi.
I don't have any hand up.
There was a
if
hand
people-
up, Lazarus, somebody.
No, he asked the question, Lazarus. Maybe there are some which could be in the question and answer, which maybe you can. Now I've seen there are two
we
hands.
also welcome any feedback. Did
There
you
are
find
two.
this useful? That's also okay. It's not
Yeah.
just questions, but feedback is also welcome.
So we have two people whom I have allowed to talk.
Please go ahead.
Please go ahead and ask the questions, please.
Oh, thank you. Can you hear me, everyone?
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank you, dear professors. I enjoyed your presentation. My name is Dr. Emmanuel. I am from University of Benin City in Nigeria. And I followed every part of today's presentation. And I am super excited, and I am not intended to miss out any of the sessions until we conclude this training on Friday. Thank you together. Thank you, Farum, and everyone for putting together this training. It's appreciated. I finished my PhD last year, and I have about 6 publications or 6 articles I have written out of my thesis. It was a really large thesis because the work was fairly large. Now, with respect to publication, the work was funded. Despite the fact that it was funded, all my articles are out. They've been reviewed by my supervisor and a few other persons. Now, the funding organization has given a go-ahead for me to publish. However, my co-supervisor, which happens to be the PI that I worked under, who technically funded the project and is one of the authors, has refused that I should go ahead with publication. How do I go ahead, or how do I handle this kind of an issue? I am bothered because the thesis is about a year old already, and the longer it takes, I will have to sit down again, do some data analysis, do some update and upgrade. In a situation like this, what advice will you give to me on handling this kind of a situation? Thank you.
Yeah, that's an interesting scenario. Would you, because your supervisor is part of this research and you've been working together, so would you mind trying to find out more? What is the rationale? Because they may be having a reason why they don't need this publication. And whatever the reason, is it that the publication can go on without their name? Or what really is the reason? I think it requires more engagement with this scientists from your side, because for any scientist, publication is the ultimate. Everyone is happy to see a publication out of the research that they've been doing. The other thing also, we are talking about RU Forum. RU Forum has institutionalized the engagement at universities, and RU Forum is not about meetings and convening, but RU Forum is about strengthening university engagements. And part of this strengthening is things to do with policies, things to do with how you influence engagements. So students should not suffer, but should borrow from best practice, because I'm sure there is a graduate school. So what is the process that you can go through in a graduate school? Every co-author probably signs off. And so rather than you having to struggle and engaging your supervisor, you can use the mechanism, the institutional mechanism, which I'm sure exists. And if it doesn't exist, then you are spot on with Rufora. You can be helped to actually be the Eureka point that this institutional mechanisms grows up in that institution by learning from other institutions. Yeah, that the graduate school signs off and clears this research for publication. So if it is cleared, then you don't have the burden of having to face your professor. I know for students, sometimes it's not easy. Supervisors are rude, supervisors are unavailable, supervisors don't have time, and so on and so forth. I hope this is an interesting conversation, and I hope you have picked one or two things.
Thank you very much, Prof. It's appreciated.
Rukia.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Prof, and thank you for the presentations and the trainings. It was so insightful, especially for us, the young scientists. So my question was actually in the Q&A, but now I wanted it to be addressed before the end of today. So now you write a paper and you succeeded in doing everything until you presented your paper in a conference. So if you receive communication from these publishers, journal, whatever, which channel are you supposed to follow? How do you know that they are genuine while they are asking for your work to publish? How do we know from there now, from that point onwards?
Oh, yeah, I see so many emails of journals asking for your work to publish it. You know, in the African Crop Science Journal, we've always had a very interesting policy. Most credible journals don't advertise themselves. People out there simply know that there is a journal and they send information. We normally have senior professors, colleagues calling us to conferences and they say, please come with a pull-up stand, a banner. But we have since really moved away from that because our rejection rate is almost 80%. So we are receiving so many papers. So we've always asked ourselves, why advertise? Yet we're already receiving many papers. So many times these journals that are advertising and putting up calls, that is an initial sign to tell you that they are not credible. Yeah,
Okay, thank you so much.
there's an
Thank
issue of integrity, so you have to watch out. Because once you accept, then you develop the article, then the next thing they will tell you, you're going to pay $1,200 or $3,000.
That's
So
very
you
Thank
sort
you.
of get stuck with them. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Like Professor here said, there are other ways of really looking out for quality journals. And in the course of the week, we'll be talking about this as well. Look at their frequency of publications, look at their consistency, look at some journals, even English is a problem. Look at the style. The style is not consistent. Some titles are in uppercase, others are in lowercase. So there is a lot of telltale signs that tell you that these journals are not credible. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
And even institutions, universities publish lists of credible journals where you should be publishing. Yeah. Okay. I'm also
Okay.
using this time to try and respond to questions and hope you're receiving the responses.
There are two people who have hands up.
Yeah, please go ahead. I think I've responded now to most of the questions.
Santa and Elizabeth. Santo, Odong and
okay.
Elizabeth Owino.
Thank you very much, Prof. This was a fruitful engagement this afternoon. My name is Santos Odong. I call myself a very young researcher because currently we are implementing protocols and research on regenerative agriculture, and I work for Kilimo Trust in Uganda. I would like to appreciate this discussion and training because one of the key words that I actually learned is about offloading, which is actually new to me. I will discuss more with you, Prof, about this, but my question would be, and one of the area that we always see in research writing and implementation of these protocols, one thing that we may request that you in the 5-day training, if it is okay, you may have to support us in area of data analysis and the correct analysis tool, because if you look at some research area, when you use SAS, they don't really accept. Some when you use Genestat, they accept it. So, and also in the data analysis, one of the key area that really is challenging is about interpretation of this data. You may have to help us on that so that we grow our experience on this area as young people who want to be in the research arena. Thank you very much. Over to you. It was fruitful on my side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a presentation that will be talking about results, how to package results and the interpretation of results. But then in this training, our assumption is that you have your data and you've analyzed your data. Ruforum has another training, and I saw adverts, announcements were made, where you have biostatisticians, experts in data analysis, experts in biometry and statistics that take students and university faculty members in data analysis. For us, this training is focused on writing. So the assumption is that you have your data and it's analyzed. But we know the connection between data and writing. And so we have a presentation on results, how to interpret results. Yeah, but please watch out for the trainings that are coming. I think there is ARA and general, there is biome. So watch out for those trainings. Bioinformatics, you may find them useful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think the last one.
Elizabeth.
Yes.
Such it is appreciation. I guess that Ruforum, whatever the name
Yes,
is.
Elizabeth.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, although you are far away from your mic.
I don't know why my gadget has a problem. I hope it will better.
Yes,
So
that's a little better.
I'm saying that mine is actually not a question. It's an
Yes.
appreciation.
Yes.
When I read more about the training, I was looking at it like these are science-oriented, and yet I am a social scientist, and I thought I would really float, but I have learned so much. And I think I'm looking forward to learning. I've also shared this with my colleagues, and I believe that at the end of it all, we will all have learned something to move us forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Hey,
you.
we are pleased to hear that. We are pleased to hear that because publications is publications. If anything, the social scientists are closer to the community than the biological or what you would want, open quote, close quote, biophysical sciences. So they are closer to the community. So everybody is driving towards the community. So whether you're doing cell biology, we need to find a way of connecting this cell to the end user. Metabolism, you need to find a way. So messages that come out of our research must gravitate towards the usability of information. So we are happy to hear that. And we'll ensure that we get papers, even in African Crop Science Journal. I remember one time we published a paper of how the community tells that there is a pest outbreak. Early warning systems in the community, and they use drums, they use whistles, and it is very. I'll look for that paper and share. It was published some time back, and when you see a journal, African Crop Science Journal, you may think it is just publishing plant breeding.
There was also
paper,
an opinion paper on gender.
Yeah.
Gender in something.
Yeah, gender in crops
And this
crop
was
management,
saying the opposite
yes.
of the philosophy of gender.
Yes, there are some people who say that, this thing of women in agriculture is overhyped. I think it was published by Springer, a very good analysis. They are saying, no, we men are involved in agriculture as well. So, yeah. But there is this question from Nisimbi. I sent my article to a reviewer, but they sold it to someone else and was published. How to avoid that in the future, please? This is quite a sensitive subject. Hey, this is the first time I get this kind of.
They normally do that for proposals, not papers.
Yeah, it's normally for proposals, not papers. And sorry about this. This is a form of plagiarism, falsification. We call it falsification, and surely with journals it shouldn't happen. You should have your records and you can give a rebuttal. You can say, I've seen this paper, it is published, here is my submission, and you acknowledged. Yeah, so I'm sure you have your submission record.
I'm thinking of
So maybe she's already left.
Where she can raise the complaint.
Yeah, it is quite an interesting complaint.
The journal is blacklisted.
Yeah, the journal can be blacklisted actually, but.
So, we are talking to ourselves. Is it already time?
Yeah, it is time. So, Dr. Runyararo?
Yes.
Is it time to close now? Is there?
Yes, I think we can close for today, and we meet again tomorrow at the same time to p.m. East African time.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.